Long before there was the WWE 2K series, and even before there was such a thing as Smackdown vs. Raw, one series ruled the wrestling game genre, and that was none other than the Smackdown games. From the year 2000, when the first Smackdown game was released on PlayStation, to 2003, the Smackdown games dominated the wrestling video game scene. And I mean, to be honest, it's not like they had much competition. I mean, come on, in 2001, it was either you played Smackdown Just Bring It on PS2, or The Simpsons Wrestling, and let's be honest, we all know which one was worth playing over the other. 2003, though, marked the end of the line for the Smackdown series, but it ended on such a high note that it would end up setting the bar for future wrestling games. The final Smackdown game to be released was none other than Here Comes the Pain, and I'll admit, while I never played this game much, I have to say, it is an absolute banger of a game. There is a good reason why Here Comes the Pain is often considered to be the last truly great wrestling game, and while I may not agree with that 100%, I mean, come on, have you played Rumble Roses? It is still a fantastic game that's still worth playing today. So without further ado, let's go back and take a look at Smackdown Here Comes the Pain to find out what exactly made it so awesome. By far, the best part about Smackdown Here Comes the Pain is the gameplay, because man, not only is it incredibly fun, but it's really addicting. When you play Here Comes the Pain, it's really hard to put it down because it does such a great job at keeping you hooked. Plus, the amount of freedom this game gives you is absolutely insane. The game literally lets you wrestle in Times Square and allows you to jump off a helicopter ladder. What more could you ask for? Plus, you can even drive a motorcycle in one of the backstage areas, which is pretty awesome if you ask me. On top of that, the gameplay is elevated by the fact that every move feels super impactful. No matter the move, whether it's a basic strike or a finisher, you always feel the impact of it, making every move feel incredibly satisfying to land. This is further helped by the fact that whenever a move is executed, the ring shakes like crazy, making for one hell of a feeling. Weapons are also super impactful, so you can really feel when you give your opponent severe head trauma with an unprotected shot to the head with a chair. The gameplay of Here Comes the Pain is so smooth and fast that it makes other wrestling games feel slow in comparison. You can absolutely wail on your opponent in this game, and I really love that. Every move transitions into one another nicely, and because of that, it always keeps matches moving at a really nice pace. Now, while Here Comes the Pain's gameplay is very much of the arcade variety, it also does a great job at nailing the simulation gameplay as well. Moves are a bit over exaggerated, sure, but they still feel grounded, which means if you're more of a simulation guy when it comes to wrestling games, this game does the job well, as well as giving you a fun arcade wrestling experience on top of that. Overall, the gameplay of Here Comes the Pain is absolutely fantastic, and after playing this game so much, it's definitely ruined other wrestling games for me, as the gameplay is so perfect that it stomps all over the gameplay of other wrestling games. Moving on to the roster, it's pretty much about what you would expect from a wrestling game of this era. Every big name superstar who was around in 2003 is featured here, and yes, that includes Rico. Now, due to how stacked the roster was in 03, it of course means that this game's roster is absolutely incredible. John Cena, 03 Kane, Undertaker, The Rock, Edge, and Christian are all featured here, making for one of the greatest rosters I've ever seen in a wrestling game. On top of the current for the time superstars, there's a pretty good selection of legends as well, such as Roddy Piper, Nikolai Volkov, Iron Sheik, and even goddamn Hillbilly Jim. The roster in this game is incredible, and sure, while it's nothing compared to the over 150 superstars we have in modern wrestling games, Here Comes the Pain went for quality over quantity, and I really appreciate that about it. You don't need over 150 superstars as long as the superstars featured are worth a damn. Visually, the game still holds up relatively well too. Every superstar in this game looks fantastic, and the entrances are always a blast to watch because of the great visuals. Then there's the creation suite, which might be more in depth than what we even have today. You're given loads of options when it comes to creating a superstar, and you're even able to create a female wrestler, a feature that for a good while after this was completely gone until 2K16 brought it back. Now, while I'm not much of a CAW guy, I gotta say, this game's creation suite is pretty damn good for what it's worth. All in all, the roster, creation suite, and gameplay of Here Comes the Pain are all great, and some of the best a wrestling game has ever had to offer. The gameplay is fast and exciting, the roster is absolutely perfect, and the creation suite might be one of the best of the PS2 era wrestling games. You know what's even better though? This game's season mode. Smackdown Here Comes the Pain might just have one of the most ridiculous season modes I've ever seen in a wrestling game, and when I say that, I mean it in a good way. Essentially, the season mode works like it does in every wrestling game, where you pick your superstar and work your way up through whichever brand you're signed to. You can get switched around to different brands as well, making the experience more interesting, but the real fun comes with the fact that this mode is so goddamn random that it's always impossible to predict what's gonna happen next. For example, on my first week of Raw playing as Stone Cold, I was told by JR that I could challenge for the world title. Awesome, I thought to myself. I then lost to Chris Jericho in a singles match, only for Lita to come out and say she wanted to face me in a match for her title. Lita was the world heavyweight champion. I then proceed to beat Lita, only to give her a rematch at Backlash, which ended in like 2 seconds because Lita forgot how ladder matches work. Also, during all this, Goldberg was the women's champ. What the fuck? Yeah, I don't get that either, but the point is that this season mode is incredibly fun, and if you've never played it before, I highly recommend it. Sure, it may not have voice acting or anything like that, but the rest of the mode is so entertaining and enjoyable that it overshadows the lack of voice acting entirely. Smackdown Here Comes the Pain is 100% without a doubt one of the greatest wrestling games of all time, and after playing it extensively myself, I can back up that statement as a fact. The game is just so incredibly fun and engaging, the moves are super impactful, the season mode is an absolute blast to play through, and the roster is as stacked as a roster can get. If you've never played Here Comes the Pain before, you need to give it a try, because you may have more fun with it than even 2K25. But it's not better than Rumble Roses!